Hello peoples, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is MSA and I love to create things. This is why I created this channel, because I wanted to inspire people to become more creative and actually to realize your creative potential, because you can actually create more things than you ever think that you can. So anyways, my new creative challenge this week was to create this headband with a bow. I've fallen in love with these. They're so versatile, so handy. These days I'm wearing them to do my makeup, or if I'm working out, or say I've got to run out to the store or something and my hair is looking like a hot mess and I need to look pulled together really quickly. I just put on one of these these headbands with the bows, and I'm ready to go. So I think they're super useful and very cute. Now I've used Ankara fabric for these. That's like a cotton fabric that a lot of West Africans use for traditional clothing, but you can use stretchy fabric, just basically any fabric you have lying around the house. I made this one, which is also super cute. I really love yellow. Yeah, so that's the first part of this video. Will be showing you how to create this one. And then for people who are not keen on sewing or find it really stressful, or if you just don't have a sewing machine, I have another one and I'll be showing you how to do that. So stay tuned for the end of the video. So to learn how to create this headband, please keep on watching. And as usual, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. So to start off with, you're going to need some fabric. You'll need scissors, some elastic. This is a 12 millimeter wide elastic, and then safety pins, dressmaking pins, a needle and a thread, and don't forget a sewing machine and an iron. Okay, so you need to cut out 3 pieces of fabric. The first piece is 7 inches by 38 inches long. You can make it shorter if you wanted, but 38 inches makes it a bit more gathered. And the second piece, this is for the bow. Now this is 10 inches wide by 15 inches long. And the last piece is for the center of the bow. This is 3 inches by 5 inches. Right, so we're starting off with the longest piece, which is the headband, wrong side facing upwards. Now you want to fold over one edge, roughly about 1/4 of an inch towards the middle, and I ironed this to make sure it lays flat. Then fold it over again, roughly about 3/4 of an inch, and you want to secure this with some dressmaking pins. And what you're doing is creating a space for the elastic to be threaded through. Again, I've already folded that inwards 1/4 of an inch and ironed it, and then I'm folding it over again 3/4 of an inch and securing it with pins. So do this all along the edge of the long strip of fabric. And then you want to sew right near the edge of that fold on both sides. Right, once you've sewn those areas, you want to cut your elastic. I cut mine 21 inches because my head is 23 inches. Don't worry, I'll put the measurements down below. Now thread a safety pin through one end of the elastic and use that to feed it through one of the hollow tubes that you've created. Don't go too far though, because you need to secure the other end. So use another safety pin and secure that to the top edge of the fabric outside the tube, and that just stops you from pulling the elastic all the way through, because it would just be a pain, trust me, if you need to keep pulling it back and forth. So you want to feed the elastic all the way through until you get to the end. Then when you get there, pull it out and undo the safety pin. Then make sure the elastic is flush with the edge of the fabric, and then put the safety pin at 90-degree angles to the elastic, and this will make sense later on, but you just want that safety pin out of the way. Then go back to where you first anchored the end of the elastic and undo that safety pin. Now you may need to just push your elastic back through that hollow space just so that it's flush with the edge of the fabric. And then secure it again with the safety pin at right angles to the elastic, and do that for the top and bottom edge. Okay, so once you've got the elastic threaded through, put the wrong sides together, and this is very, very important. So the right sides are on the outer part of this, and then you use the dressmaking pins to secure the two ends together. And don't forget to secure the elastic as well, because it can move when you sew. And I always try to put my pins at a 90-degree angle to where the sewing machine is going to pass through. So that way you don't have to tack, you just leave the pins in and then sew about 1/2 inch. Okay, so now this is sewn and you can see the edges are brought together. So that's the wrong edges. I'm just pushing them flat. You can press it at this stage, but just watch the elastic. Now we're going to make the bow. So again, wrong side facing upwards, which is important. First thing you want to do is fold your fabric in half lengthways and just gently crease your fabric. Please use an iron as well for this step, because it just makes it a lot easier to know where your creases are. And then fold the bottom edge upwards, just so it's slightly overlapping that center crease, and same thing for the top edge. Then you want to fold it in half again, and this is where you really have to iron that edge because you're going to need it later on. Then you want to fold in one edge towards the middle and slightly overlap that middle crease that you've made. And do that again for the other edge. Again, slightly overlap again, which is quite important. And just flip it over, and that is the body of your bow. Now you want to attach the bow to the actual headband. It's very important that you push those edges flat so it's nice and flush when you put the bow on top of it. So now use some pins to secure the middle of the bow to the middle of the headband. So that's why you need that crease. So it's important you iron it so that you know where the center is. And again, I'm just putting my pins at 90-degree angles to where my sewing machine is going to pass through. So you want to do that for the top and bottom edge of the bow. Take your time with this step so that everything lines up. You don't want a wonky bow at the end. And once that's done, you just want to sew down that center seam to attach the bow to the headband. And this is what it should look like. Okay, you can see it's attached in the center, and you can see the sides of the headband are also underneath the bow on either side. So now we're going to form the bow. So pinch the middle part together, and kind of like an accordion, you want to bend the edges of the bow towards the middle. I like the edges to be pointing downwards. I just think it looks better. And just fluff out the bow just to make sure it's equal on both sides. Now you get your needle and thread. I'm just securing it with a few knots on the side. You can sew all the way through the folds of the bow, but it was just so thick I found that really hard. Instead, I looped the thread around the bow tightly a few times just so that it was secure, and it just stops it from unraveling. I wouldn't usually use a red thread, but it just showed up better on camera. So pick a thread that matches your fabric, and then once it's secure, I then put a few knots on the other side of the bow just to keep it secure. You can use fabric glue, by the way, if you prefer. And there you go, that's your bow pretty much done. And now for the center of the bow. Now you want to put right sides together, so wrong sides are on the outside, and just crease it, and then use the dressmaking pins to secure those two, the edges together, because you're going to sew down this edge. Okay, so sew about 1/2 inch from the edge, and once that's sewn, use a safety pin to go through just one layer of the fabric and use that to feed it back through to turn it inside out. So now the right side should be facing out. Okay, then remove the safety pin once you've done this, and try and make the center seam to face upwards in the middle. Now place that over your bow and bring it together on the back. Use another pin and put it at right angles to your bow, because you're going to sew along that to secure it. You do want a little bit of a gap because you're going to flip this over once you've sewn it.
Okay, so once you've sewn it, cut off the excess because you won't need that. And now you want to flip it around, and this is why you need that little bit of a gap, so it's a lot easier to maneuver. And if you want to, you can just use a needle and thread and secure the center part so it doesn't move.
Okay, so that is it, really. That's how you create this. Super quick and I think quite easy. Now, for people who either are not keen on sewing or don't have a sewing machine, I'll show you how to make this hairband where really you don't have to sew. If you don't have a sewing machine, just buy yourself some of this hebbing web. I bought this from, I think this was from like either Asda or Tesco. Any grocery store generally sells this. You can find it online, and all you do is you put it in the areas that you want to sew, and you just get an iron and you iron it on, and the heat activates this. So it's really a godsend if you're in a rush or you just don't want to sew. So keep on watching to learn how to make this, and at the end I'll show you how to tie it.
So you want to cut a long piece of fabric 12 inches wide by 61 inches long. I had to join two pieces of fabric together to get it as long as I needed. And then once you've done that, you want to put right sides together, so the wrong sides are on the outside, and either use use dressmaking pins to secure those two edges together, because we're going to sew along this edge. So sew along or use your hemming tape to bring the sides together. Then once you've done that, turn it inside out, so the right sides will actually be on the outside now. So what you've done is created a hollow tube, and you want to seal the ends. So fold them inwards roughly about, let's say, ½ an inch. And again, use your hemming web, or you're going to sew down this edge. But first of all, secure it with some pins, and you may want to press this as well, just so it stays nice and flat. And sew down the edge of this, and you want to do that on both ends, and that's what completes the long strip of fabric.
Okay, so let me show you how to tie this. So literally just put it around the back of your head and just make sure the ends are even, and you want to tie it first of all into a knot just in the front of your head. And it's great with these because then you can decide, you can just tuck these at the back if you just want that sort of a look. But I'm going to tie a bow. So once you've tied it, then you create your bow. So I'm just sort of bending these ends in half, and then tie the bow loosely. Okay, and then pull the ends through. Okay, so when you're about here, don't stop here, okay, obviously. Now, just fluff out the bow itself. This is quite a stiff fabric, so it holds its shape really well. So I think, yeah, that's the moral of the story. Use a stiffer fabric, because if you use something that's a bit floppy, it's probably not going to hold its shape. And now with the ends of the bow, you want to tuck them in so that they're out of sight. And tighten up the bow as well so that it just sits a little better. And then I'm going to tuck this bit just under the front. And then just form the bow so that it looks a bit tidier. Just tuck everything properly. Okay, and that is it. So simple. That's just the back. Hopefully you can see that all there. So there you go. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this, and I do hope that you give this a go. Please don't forget to comment, to like, and subscribe, and I look forward to creating another video for you guys very soon. All right, bye. Have an awesome day.